So a key part of ecological and biodiversity research is species identification, which can get quite tricky at times, especially if you're working with quite obscure groups or groups of loads of different species. So kind of a classic way of doing it is to use a field guide or a key and steadily work your way through it until you hit an ID, but even that can be quite difficult. But luckily these days we've got quite a lot of technology that is able to help us, and a lot of it can just be on your phone. So there is a huge variety of apps out there which will help you identify what it is you're looking at. Different apps specialise on different species, so there are apps specifically designed for plants, for example, or birds, and we're going to show you two apps that we think are particularly useful. One thing to remember is that using apps is not cheating. We should use the technology that is available to us. We do have to be careful. The apps are not infallible. They don't always give us the right ID. A lot of the time they'll get us close to the correct species, but not quite there. It will take a lot of experimentation to find out which apps are good, which are not, what can they identify, what can't they identify, but it's a really good way to kind of engage with nature and start to understand what it is you're looking at and what you're looking for. So right now I'm taking a photo of a snail from several different angles. Often it's good to get as many angles as possible because some of the key identification features might be on the one side of your animal or plant but not on the other. So it's good to get as many photos as you can. Then I'm going to open the iNaturalist app. So iNaturalist allows you to document your observations, so you can have a running list of all the different things you've seen and where you've seen them and when. But if you want to add a new observation, you can do that quite simply. iNaturalist allows you to either take a photo through the app or to just use a photo from your gallery. So I will locate my snail photos and I'm now uploading them to iNaturalist. So iNaturalist has a feature which is actually called What Did You See? This is the app trying to give you suggestions for what you might have seen. As you can see, it's given us a genus which it's fairly confident on, and then potentially two different species that the snail might belong to. So either the brown-lipped snail or the white-lipped snail. And if you're not sure what species it is fine to put down just a genus. You can get some more information on what the genus looks like, where you can find it, its life habits, that sort of thing. If you're happy with your identification, you can add it in. And then you can also add in extra information for any actual humans who look at your identifications. Check the date is correct, check the location is correct, because that will affect how likely it is that you've seen certain species. And then there's also many other fields you can fill in to give extra information. But once you're done with that, just press the tick. And now iNaturalist is uploading your observation. And in a couple of hours to a couple of days, hopefully you'll have some real people coming in and giving their thoughts on what it is you found. And iNaturalist, you will often get specialists actually using the website, so a lot of the IDs can be really quite quickly obtained, and it can also be really quite good as well. iNaturalist is also very useful because it's linked to a global citizen science network, so anything you upload to iNaturalist will go into a massive database which is available to scientists and researchers across the globe. So you'll also be helping in larger projects if you upload your findings to iNaturalist. So iNaturalist has a sister app called Seek. It's kind of slightly more challenge-based, so often you can get challenges to spot 10 different kinds of insects, for example. This is more of a point and identify kind of app. You can upload photos, but you can also scan the environment. So right now it's seeing dicots, which are it's a group of plants. But if we point it at our snail, yes, so it's gone down to genus level again, much like iNaturalist. you can take a picture and save your identification. So it's very similar to iNaturalist. You can link it up to iNaturalist and upload your observations into the same iNaturalist database. But it just depends on how you prefer to do things when you're out in the field. Another app which is really useful is Merlin. This one is specifically for birds. It's got quite a lot of useful features, particularly its song identification feature. So learning bird song can be quite tricky at the beginning, especially if you're not familiar with the species that you're hearing, and Merlin's a really good way to learn about that. It's also got a photo ID option, which means if you've got a picture of your bird, then Merlin can also help you identify that. And it's also got features for just kind of browsing through various birds that you might come across. So Merlin is currently listening for birds, so it's already found a wren somewhere nearby. What you're seeing in the top panel scrolling along is called a spectrogram, sometimes known as a sonogram as well. It's essentially a visual representation of sound. And the nice thing about Merlin is that it records everything that you're hearing. So you can save all your bird song, you can go back to them, you can have a look at exactly where Merlin thinks it's heard a certain bird. And it also highlights the bird that it's hearing in that current moment. So right now it's hearing a wren, so it's highlighted for wren. And it can identify multiple birds during a single session, so then it kind of moves between highlights.